The camera slowly zooms into Joe Rogan's face as he stares at the screen. Eyebrows raised, eyes locked. The clip playing in front of him is from the courtroom. Yes. Rihanna's former bodyguard is on the stand, voice steady, jaw tight, and what he says next sends chills down Joe's spine. Yes, I was told to forget what I saw. I was told if you want to keep working in this business, you'll stay silent. Joe leans back in his chair, hands on his face, and says, Jesus Christ. What the hell is happening in Hollywood? He rewinds the clip again, watching. The moment the bodyguard looks straight at the jury and says, the person who told me that was connected to Sean Combs. Joe shakes his head. Did? We're talking about Diddy? Puff Daddy? This man's being named in court like a mob boss. He pauses, adjusts his mic. You gotta understand, man, this isn't TMZ gossip. This is sworn testimony in a federal courtroom. No cameras allowed inside. No PR team spinning the narrative. This is as raw as it gets. The video continues. The bodyguard describes a girl found crying in a hallway. It's a man who vanished after attending one of Diddy's private parties. And then, the subtle, terrifying message left for him. A photo of his daughter's school taped to his bathroom mirror. Joe's face goes serious. That's not just intimidation. It's calculated terror. That's some cartel-level stuff. What the fuck is going on behind the velvet ropes of the music industry? He leans closer, gripping his mic. Look, people always say Hollywood is fake. But this is beyond fake. This is sinister. You're telling me multiple people have disappeared, settlements have been paid, and the same name keeps coming up, and we're only now hearing about it? Because one guy finally snapped? Joe rewinds again, this time to the part where the bodyguard describes a woman being dragged out of a party unconscious. Her purse was found in the trash. Her name vanished from the industry days later. Joe stares. That's a razor. It's cleaning up loose ends like the mafia? Here's the thing people knew. They always know. But no one talks. Why? Because people are either in on it or they're too scared to lose their career. Then he hits the line everyone needs to hear. Listen, man, this isn't about cancel culture. This is about survival culture. There's a whole fuck structure in place to make sure people like Diddy stay bulletproof. It's not just money. It's leverage, it's blackmail, it's fear. The courtroom video rolls again. The bodyguard says, I saw Diddy hand an envelope to a driver and say, no one hears about this. Understood? Joe slams his hand on the desk. Can't tell me this isn't organized? That sounds like an executive order from a king. That's not a pop star move. That's a crime boss move. Joe leans back again, his tone shifting.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what scares me the most. How many of these parties happened?
How many people never came back?
How many girls walked in thinking they were going to a VIP event and walked out broken? He pauses, lets the silence sit. You remember Epstein, right? Everyone thought it was a conspiracy until it wasn't. Then suddenly people were like, oh, shut it, what if this is another version of that? Just with champagne, beats, and platinum records playing in the background. He exhales, slowly, then looks into the camera. Before we dive deeper into this unforgettable video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon that way. You'll never miss any new videos like this. Now let's get back to it. Joe plays the courtroom clip one last time. This time, the bodyguard says, I believe Julian died that night, and I believe Diddy knows how and why. Joe's voice drops to a near whisper. If that's true, then the empire isn't just cracking, it's rotting from the inside. He looks away from the screen, as if even he needs a moment to absorb the weight of it. This is bigger than a trial. This is the unraveling of something nobody wanted us to see, and now it's too late to stop it.
Oh.
Joe Rogan sits up, straighter in his chair, eyes narrowed, absorbing every frame of the courtroom testimony as it replays on the monitor. The bodyguard's voice plays through the speakers again. There were parties, no cameras, no phones. What happened inside never made it out, but I saw everything, and I kept records. Joe hits pause. Right there, he says, pointing. At the screen, that line, that's the part that makes your spine go cold. He leans into the mic, voice intense but focused. You don't say, I kept records, unless you know you're walking into a war. This guy didn't just witness things. He documented them, and now he's putting it all on the table. Oh. Joe plays the next section. The bodyguard describes a girl bruised and unconscious, being carried out the back door while two black SUVs waited silently with no plates. He tried to intervene. Someone stopped him and told him, "Not tonight. You didn't see this." Joe stares into the lens, dead serious. You know what that is? It's not panic. That's protocol. That means this wasn't the first time. That means they had a system in place. You don't roll out blacked out SUVs and use code phrases unless it's a regular drill. He clenches his jaw. I've had ex-CIA guys on this show, military contractors. They all say the same thing when you see that kind of coordination. Someone powerful is running the playbook. The video continues. The courtroom hears how the woman's contract was terminated within 48 hours. Social media wiped. No trace left. Just gone. Joe's voice drops. Look, man, that's not just silencing. That's vanishing. That's how you erase a person in 2025 without a single bullet. No headlines, no lawsuits, just a quiet deletion. He pauses thinking. And the fact that this guy kept the evidence, risked everything, that tells me one thing. He's not looking for clout. He's looking for justice. You don't keep a backup memory card for 5 years just to go viral. Then Joe plays. The part where the bodyguard says, after that night, my phone was taken. My apartment was broken into. Someone left a Polaroid of my daughter's school entrance taped to my bathroom mirror. Joe goes still, just breathes. That he finally says is how they play. Not with lawsuits, with fear, with families. That's why no one talks. And now that he is talking, that Polaroid should scare all of us. He looks directly into the camera again. You think this only happens in movies? Ah, man. This is real. This is the part of the music industry no one wants to believe exists. But guess what? The veil just got ripped off, and we're all looking straight into the monster's mouth now. He replays the final lines of the courtroom segment, where the judge accepts the memory card as sealed evidence and recesses the session. Due to the overwhelming gravity of what has been submitted, Joe lets the silence sit for a moment, then leans forward. Do you understand what that means? They didn't even show the evidence publicly yet, and it still shut the courtroom down. That means what's on that drive is worse than what was. Said out loud, think about that. He taps the desk slowly. I've interviewed hundreds of people, scientists, ex-spies, whistleblowers, and there's a moment in every conversation where the truth feels too big to process. This is one of those moments. He exhales again, quieter this time. And the scariest part? This bodyguard. He might just be the first domino. He turns back to the screen, hits play again. You're watching history here, he mutters. And it's only the beginning. Joe Rogan sits in stunned silence for a moment, elbows on the table, both hands pressed against his mouth. The courtroom footage replays for the third time, and it's not losing any of its impact. In fact, it's getting heavier. The bodyguard's voice cuts through the speakers. I wasn't just protecting Rihanna. I was cleaning up other people's messes. I was told to keep the machine running, no matter what I saw, no matter who it hurt. Joe shakes his head slowly, eyes locked on the screen. That line, he whispers. That's it. It's the machine. People talk about Hollywood, like it's glamorous, like it's some dream. But behind the lights, there's a fucking machine running in the dark. And this guy was a cog in it until he couldn't take it anymore. He presses play again. Bodyguard continues. We weren't bodyguards. We were silencers. And for the first time in my life, I want to speak. Joe snaps upright, jaw clenched. That's a man who's been holding poison in his chest for years. That's not for show. That's not performance. That's a confession. He rewinds and listens again to the part where the bodyguard says, I believe Julian died that night, and I believe Diddy knows how and why. Joe stares. That right there, it's murder territory. That's not scandal. That's criminal. That's someone saying in open court that a human being vanished and a music mogul was involved. He pauses, then says something that lands like a hammer. You know what this reminds me of? Cults. Literal fucking cults. Charismatic leader. Inner circle. Total silence. People disappearing. It checks every single box. And when that leader has billions, private jets, lawyers, execs, and the public eating out of his hand, what can stop him? Joe leans back, rubbing his face. We don't want to believe it, that's the problem. We grew up on Diddy. We danced to his music. He was in commercials, red carpets. We trusted that image. But if the image was a mask, and if behind it was something way more dangerous? The courtroom clip jumps to a key moment. The judge asks, "Do you have names?" The bodyguard says, "Yes. I've already submitted them under seal. But if I disappear, no, they're tied to this man." He points straight at Diddy. Joe hits pause and lets the silence hang. That, he says finally, that's a dead man walking, unless this court protects him. You think he's doing this for fun? This guy's not trying to write a book or get a podcast deal. He's burning the last bridge behind him and walking into the fire. Then Joe drops his voice. Let me ask you something. How many people knew? How many assistants, drivers, makeup artists, stylists? Security guards saw something and said nothing, not because they're evil, but because they knew what would happen if they opened their mouth. He points to the camera. This is why people stay silent. Because when they speak, they risk everything. But when someone like this finally speaks and the walls start to crack, you better believe more voices will follow. Because now, they know they're not alone anymore. Joe rewinds one last time to the moment the court accepts the bodyguard's hidden memory card into evidence. No arguments, no delays. It's just a quiet agreement between judge and prosecutor that the contents are too dangerous to ignore. Joe leans into the mic again. You don't just accept something like that into sealed evidence unless it's serious. That means someone verified it. That means someone behind closed doors looked at that card and said, "This changes everything." Then he sits back and lets the weight of it all settle in. We're not just watching a celebrity trial, he says finally. We're watching the beginning of a collapse. Not just of one man, but of an entire illusion we've been sold for years. And with that, the screen fades to black. But no one watching can look away. Joe Rogan sits still, almost too still. His hands aren't moving. His usual energy is shifted. It's not that he's shocked anymore. It's that he's processing. The courtroom clip plays again, but this time, it's the defense attorney cross-examining the bodyguard. Isn't it true, the lawyer says, that you were let go from Rihanna's team because of misconduct? Joe raises his eyebrows. Ah, here it comes, he mutters. Classic play. Attack the credibility. If you can't kill the story, kill the storyteller. He leans into the mic, voice low, focused. This is what they do whenever someone comes forward with something this heavy, especially against someone powerful. The first thing they try to do is stain their character. Make the world think, oh, he's just bitter. He's lying. He wants fame. It's the oldest trick in the book. The courtroom testimony continues. The bodyguard fires back. I left because I couldn't watch it anymore. The parties, the fear, the lies, the girls, the aftermath. I wasn't protecting a person. I was protecting a machine that chewed people up. Joe freezes the video again. Look at his face, he says quietly. It's not a man performing. It's someone who's seen darkness and finally decided to drag it into the light. He rewinds again, this time to the part where the bodyguard describes the 2018 Calabasas party. A girl tried to leave. She was stopped. Next time I saw her, she was being carried out unconscious. Joe's voice tightens. We've heard this story before, at different names. Same settings. Private parties, no cameras. Right. Beautiful people, billionaire hosts, and the same damn ending. Someone broken, someone silenced, and everyone pretending it never happened. He plays the next line. She vanished after that night, her music deal gone, her socials deleted, her name wiped. Joe exhales sharply. That's what I'm talking about. Do you think you're paranoid when you say they're erasing people, but then someone lays it out like this, step by step, And suddenly, it's not paranoia anymore. It's protocol. He shifts forward, urgency rising in his tone. This is where the pattern becomes undeniable. How many times do you have to hear the same story before you believe it? And if this guy really has timestamped logs and digital evidence, it's over. Like, it's over for Diddy. Joe plays the next part of the clip. I was told by someone in Combs Enterprises that the cameras weren't working that night, but I had already backed up the files. Joe smiles. For the first time, just a little. That's it. That's the moment. That's where the power shifts. Because they didn't expect someone in their inner circle to be smart enough to keep receipts. He looks up, straight at the lens. Let me tell you something. The only reason this guy is still breathing is because he kept his mouth shut. Long enough to build an insurance policy, it's that memory card that's his bulletproof vest. And now it's in the hands of the court. He plays one more clip. The bodyguard says, I lost friends. I lost work. I lost my life keeping those secrets. And now I don't care anymore. Joe's voice is soft, but it cuts like a blade. You don't say something like that unless you've already made peace with the cost. That's not bravery. Desperation turned into purpose. Then he pauses, eyes locked in. You ever wonder why the people who try to tell the truth always look exhausted? Like their soul's been on fire for years? That's this guy. And he's not just telling on Diddy. He's testifying against an entire system of silence. Joe leans forward, elbows on the table, and we better listen. Because if we don't,
How many more people?
Have to disappear before we admit something. Deeply wrong? He doesn't blink because now it's personal. Joe Rogan watches silently as the courtroom video transitions into something more disturbing. The prosecutor holds up a printed image, grainy, time-stamped. It shows a young woman with a swollen eye and blood on her lips, sitting slumped on a hotel hallway floor. Another image follows a log from the private party security system. A door code entry, GPS ping. A name tagged in the system, someone tied directly to Diddy's inner circle. Joe exhales. That's the nail, man, he says quietly. That's the piece they never expect someone to keep. These guys think they're untouchable, so they get sloppy. They leave shadows in their tracks. But this guy? He didn't just witness it. He documented it. He hits pause and turns toward the camera. You ever wonder why so many powerful people settle out of court? Why do NDAs get thrown around like party favors? Because it's not about protecting innocence. It's about controlling silence. He hits play again. Now the courtroom watches. The bodyguard detail what happened after that night. The girl disappeared. She was signed to a development deal with a label tied to Bad Boy. Within 48 hours, the deal was canceled. Her Instagram blank. No stories, no messages, no new posts, nothing. Like someone pulled the plug. Joe stares, then says something. Raw. That's digital execution. It's not someone having a breakdown. It's someone being erased on command. He grips the mic. This isn't a conspiracy anymore. This is logistics. You have to plan that kind of erasure. You need tech people, legal teams, compliance managers. It's not one guy in a hoodie hitting delete. It's a coordinated takedown. Then comes the next gut punch. The prosecutor asks, Mr. Collins, did you keep these images and records with the intention of using them one day? The bodyguard nods. I kept them because I knew this day would come. Because I knew they'd come for me. Joe closes his eyes for a moment. That's what courage looks like. Not a hero in a cape. Guy who's been stalked, threatened, broken, and still stands up and tells the world, I'm not hiding. Anymore? Then comes the most chilling part. The prosecutor asks, were there others like her? The bodyguard replies, there were many. Some spoke. Most didn't. One ended up in a psych ward. Another fled the country, one girl told me. She saw things that made her spirit bleed, and then she vanished. Just gone. Joe leans in, voice like a warning. If even half of this is true, then the music industry is sitting in a graveyard. Not just careers, lives. And if Diddy really knew what was happening, or worse, was running it, then this trial is just the surface crack. The whole iceberg is below. He plays the clip again. The bodyguard says after I refused to sign the final NDA, they broke into my apartment. Didn't steal anything, just moved things. Left a message, a cracked glass on the table, and a Polaroid of my daughter's school entrance taped to my mirror. Joe goes quiet. Then he whispers, "That's not fear. That's the kind of threat that makes you forget your own name. And that's what these people do. They don't just buy silence, they engineer it." He straightens up, fire in his eyes. "Listen to me. If this kind of thing is happening behind VIP doors, with celebrity handlers, executives, billions of dollars keeping it all buried, then this is way bigger than one man in court." He holds his stare on the camera. Every single person who clapped for Diddy, worked for him, enabled him. They need to be asked, "What did you know? And when did you stop caring?" He plays the final part of the clip. The judge speaks, visibly shaken, and accepts the evidence drive into sealed review. Court adjourned. But no one in the room is breathing normal anymore. Joe lets it hang, then says, "This isn't a scandal. This is a reckoning, and I don't think it's done. I think we're just hearing the first scream that finally made it out of the dark." Joe Rogan stares at the screen, his jaw clenched, eyes narrowed. Not with confusion, but with something heavier. Rage. Not the loud kind, but the quiet. Focused kind that only shows up when you realize the people in charge have been hiding bodies under your feet this entire time. The courtroom footage rolls again. "I backed everything up," the bodyguard says on the stand. Time-stamped photos, GPS logs, surveillance clips, copies of contracts. "I was told to delete it all. I didn't." Joe tilts his head slightly. That's it. It's the moment right there. When he says, "I didn't." That's the part they never expect because they're so used to everyone folding, signing, vanishing. But this guy, ... he played the long game. And now, the house of cards is falling. Joe hits pause. You ever ask yourself how many people had to be in on this? It's not just Diddy. You think one man can erase women, bury contracts, clean hotel? Floors and scrub names from label databases all by himself. No way. You need a whole damn infrastructure. You need a system. And that's what this is. He taps the table. System of silence run by fear, powered by fame, and now it's cracking. The screen flashes back to the judge's chambers. Reviewing the sealed contents of the bodyguard's memory card, a security log tied to an event in Miami, a list of guests. One name marked in red. The same name the bodyguard says vanished the next day. Joe leans forward. You know what that is? It's pattern recognition. That's not gossip. That's digital evidence. It's like finding fingerprints at a crime scene and pretending it's just coincidence. He plays the next portion of the testimony. I saved those files because I knew the day would come when someone else would disappear, and I didn't want to be next. Joe just shakes his head. This is what makes me sick. This guy wasn't trying to destroy anyone. He was just trying to survive. But when you work inside that machine, when you see the things no one is supposed to see, you only have two choices. Shut up or burn it all down. And thank God he chose the second. Rewinds the footage to the moment where the defense. Lawyer tries to discredit him. You were dismissed from your job, correct? Bodyguard replies, no. I walked away because I couldn't stand the smell of the lies anymore. Joe stops the video. That line, the smell of the lies, man. That's something you can't fake. That's something only someone who's walked through hell can describe. This guy has seen things most people wouldn't believe in their worst nightmares. And he chose to step into the light knowing damn well what it would cost him. He taps the table again, more aggressively now. And let me say something for the people in the back. This isn't about canceling culture. It's about accountability. It's about pulling the curtain back on decades of abuse wrapped in luxury packaging. You can't keep calling these people icons if the truth is they were predators with publicists. ... Courtroom video ends with a single sentence from the judge. This evidence will be privately reviewed due to the magnitude of its content. We are adjourned. Joe sits in silence, and slowly he speaks. I don't care what music he made. I don't care how many awards he won. If what we're seeing is real, and trust me, it feels real, then Diddy isn't just a celebrity. He's the gatekeeper of a damn crime ring dressed in Versace. He breathes out slowly. And this This is just the first brick to fall. Joe doesn't blink. He doesn't flinch. Just stares straight into the camera. Now imagine what's still hidden. Joe Rogan presses play one more time. But this time, the room feels different. The tone has shifted. It's no longer about testimonies or evidence files or industry whispers. It's about what just got said loudly, clearly, and without fear. On screen, prosecutor asked the bodyguard directly, "Did you ever personally witness Sean Combs orchestrating a cover-up?" The courtroom stills, the air tightens, and the answer comes, yes. Joe doesn't say a word. He just stares. Because this is it, the moment, the explosion. The line that takes everything from whispers and speculation to something undeniable. The prosecutor presses on. "Can you describe what you saw?" And the bodyguard, his voice calm but heavy, says, "November 2019, private party. Hollywood Hills. A young man was found unconscious upstairs. Rope burns on his wrists. Bruising. No one called the police. Instead, 2 SUVs showed up. Diddy handed an envelope to one of the drivers and said, 'No one hears about this. Understood?' They carried the man out. That man was Julian. He was trying to leave the circle. He never showed up again." Joe leans back, almost dazed. Jesus Christ. That's not a rumor. That's a fucking body. It's a man being named as the last voice in a room someone didn't want to speak again. He runs his hands through his hair. This isn't some anonymous internet post. This is court testimony. That alone is massive. But the way he says it, he's not bluffing. He's not unsure. He knows exactly what he saw. He lived it. Joe locks eyes with the camera. This is the kind of moment where everything changes. That answer, yes, that's not just dangerous. It's history being rewritten in real time. He plays the next part. The prosecutor asks, "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" The bodyguard's response is cold, raw, unforgettable. "Because when I even thought about telling the truth. Someone left a Polaroid of my daughter's school taped to my bathroom mirror." Joe's mouth drops open. That right there. Mafia level shit. That's a message. A threat, without saying a word. You don't recover from that. Either shut up or run, and he didn't either. He stayed. He watched. And now he's detonating the whole damn machine. He rewinds the moment where the bodyguard says, "I believe Julian died that night. And I believe Diddy knows exactly how and why." Joe slams his hand on the table, not in rage, but in disbelief. You cannot walk away from that statement. It cannot pretend this is a celebrity drama. After that, that's an allegation of death. That's a man putting it all on the line to say, "If I disappear too, remember this." He takes a breath. You know what the most dangerous thing is? He's not emotional. He's done. You can feel it. He's not scared anymore.
Ow!
And when a man stops being scared, the people hiding behind power start shaking. Joe pauses, letting the gravity land. This moment, this right here, this is where Diddy's world starts falling apart, because now the public doesn't just suspect. They know. There's a name, a timeline, a face. In a courtroom that couldn't look away, he looks dead into the lens. The entertainment world has been untouchable for too long. But now finally, one person stood up and lit the fuse. Another beat of silence. And then Joe says slowly, "Deliberately Diddy's. Not fighting a PR battle anymore. Standing in front of a fuse and it's already burning." Joe Rogan sits forward in his chair, hands clasped in front of him, staring directly at the camera like he's not just speaking to viewers, but warning them. The minute that man pointed his finger at Diddy, the courtroom wasn't a courtroom. Anymore, he says, it became a mirror for the entire entertainment industry. And what we saw in that reflection was rot. The video replays a final clip. The bodyguard looks at thejury.com, fearless, and says, "I've carried these secrets for years. I've watched people disappear. I've watched the media lie. I've watched the powerful laugh while the powerless begged. And today, I'm done." Joe lets the silence carry, then speaks slowly. It's not just a man speaking. It's a fuse being lit in front of the entire world. He shakes his head, not out of confusion, but out of realization. We're so used to entertainment. being a distraction, a glossy package. But the truth is, these stories we're hearing, they're not rare. They're just usually buried too deep for us to see, until someone risks everything to drag them into the light. He leans closer, gripping the edge of the table. This isn't a story about a bodyguard or about Diddy. This is about power. It's about what happens when someone becomes so rich, so connected, so protected that the rules don't apply anymore. Not to their actions. Not to their victims. Not even to reality. Joe's voice lowers. You don't understand how dangerous that is until you see it up close. Till a man with nothing left to lose pulls the curtain back and says, "Look at what I've seen." And now, we're looking. He plays the final courtroom moment again. The judge, visibly shaken, says, "We will recess until further review of evidence. This testimony will be sealed for now." Joe hits pause. Sealed. Of course it is. Because if the public saw what's really in those files, if the world read every name, every date, every connection, this whole fucking industry would catch fire. He leans back, thinking, then drops a line that stings like truth. We keep pretending these are isolated incidents. One bad apple, one scandal, but it's not. It's a system. A business model built on silence, protected by fear, powered by money. His voice turns cold. Diddy isn't the first. He won't be the last. But he might be the first to fall publicly. And when that happens, when the world finally accepts what people have been screaming in whispers for decades, that's when the real storm hits. He points to the camera. So if you're watching this and you're shocked, good. I was shocked. But stay awake. Because this story isn't over. It's just beginning. He sits back, staring into space for a moment, reflecting, processing. Then he speaks one final time. They built a fortress out of silence. This guy broke the first brick. Let's make damn sure it doesn't get rebuilt.